Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. As you know, story begats story. I've been saying this for a while. When I tell you a story, your mind automatically goes to the story that connects to that. And if you are a real connector, you connect to that story and you find your story, and it helps you heal your own stories. Sometimes people, because they can't find a connection, they look for a way to center. Centering is taking over someone else's narrative to make yourself the central character in their narrative. Well, I spent several days on the road with my brother listening to his stories, and I just listened. I really just listened. And from time to time, I would share a story. But by the time I got back home, so many stories were flooding my brain. And one was a road story because I am really, really good at finding great hotels. And the reason I'm really, really good at finding great hotels is because other people have put me in some not so great hotels. Many years ago, when I was traveling doing lectures and comedy at universities, most of the times the students were in charge of their activities, and so they would call around and they had a voucher from their university and they'd find the lowest price so that they could have their budget stretch pretty far. So they'd find the cheapest place. Most of them had never stayed in these places. They'd never even been to the places, so they didn't know the condition of them. They were just like, oh, it's a hotel. And most really good universities are in the middle of nowhere. Now, some are urban. Some great universities are urban settings and right in the middle of a city, but many are in the middle of nowhere. And so you get whatever's close to it. And so I'd get some places. So I became really good at finding my own hotels really early on. And now with technology and apps and things, you can find great, great places at great prices. That's not the point. Here's the story. Staying at this place that these people have put me at, and I actually had a few hours before I started doing what I was doing, and then I was going someplace else. So I thought, well, I'll check in, take a shower, change, and then go someplace else. But I look at this place and I'm like, I don't know. Now the rooms inside were renovated and they were nice, and I thought, okay, you could just do this. But then I came back out to get my luggage. Now, at the time, I had that Halliburton luggage, that metal aluminum kind of luggage. I remember when I was cleaning banks and I would go by this luggage store, and that Halliburton luggage would be in the window, and I was like, one day I'm going to have that luggage. Well, I got that luggage. So here I am at this hotel, and I'm pulling my stuff out, and I look up, and there's this guy standing there just staring at me. And I was like, what? What? And he was like this kind of scrawny looking guy who was like looking like he was trying to be tough, the sleeves turned up on his t-shirt, and he's like cigarette pack up in him. And no kidding, he was like out of central casting. So he goes, Manny wants to know what you're holding. I can't make this stuff up. And I was like, what? He said, Manny wants to know what you're holding. Now, I couldn't understand several things. I couldn't understand who Manny was. I didn't know what holding meant. So I was like, what? Manny wants to know what you're holding. And I guess that because I had this fancy luggage that looked like, something out of one of those, what you telling me movies. You could It looked like, like I had a drug deal or something going on, because that's what they would have, either money or something. You open that luggage and there's something in it. So I was like, what? He's like, Manny wants to know what you're holding. I was like, who's Manny? I just went in the character, what up? Who's Manny? And he goes like that. And I look over, and there's somebody even scrawnier than him who has sent him over to do his bidding. And I was like, tell Manny I'll be back. So I put my little stuff back in that car. I said, I ain't got it yet. I'm coming. Put my stuff in that car. I left. That's it. That's the end of the story. I didn't come back. I didn't confront Manny. I didn't confront Manny's minion. I didn't have nothing to say to none of them. I left. I went. I sat by the university until it was time for me to do what I needed to do. I did what I did, and I left. I didn't want to meet Manny. I didn't want to meet Manny's man. I didn't want to know what holding was, what they thought I should be holding. I didn't. No more questions. So anyway, I came home and I told that story to my daughter, and she was like, rough times, rough times. I'm like, shut up. Let these stories wake up the stories in you so that you can find and remember all you've been through to make you all that you are. I love you. Who's Manny?